What's going on, everybody? It's Davey from the 80s, and you are now entering the Cinema Chop Shop. So park your ass right there. And right there, don't forget to hit the like, the share, the subscribe button. Also, if you check the link below, you'll see a Patreon account. If you click it, you can become a member. All you got to do is try recommend movies and music and trailers when you react to. So click the damn link. Now, with that, we're here to go ahead and review a movie. Now, I wanted to review this movie a while ago, and I've just been putting it off. And recently, I ran into some stuff online that has just made me say, you know what? I'm gonna just go ahead and we're gonna go ahead and review this thing. So I'm going to review the new movie, 2023 movie by the name of Nefarious. It is directed by Chuck Kozelman and Kerry Solomon. It is starring Sean Patrick Flannery. Now, this movie, the synopsis of this movie is basically there is a psychiatrist that is assigned to go work at a prison because this inmate has about like 24 hours before he is executed. And in the movie, he's like, he has to basically determine whether this inmate is sane or not in order to be executed. But the inmate is claiming to be possessed by the devil or a demon or so on and so forth. So basically, the psychiatrist has to figure out, is this a real thing or is this a figment of his imagination? Is he just trying to make up excuses so that he doesn't get executed, you know? And I'm just going to go ahead and talk a little bit about the controversy surrounding this movie before I go ahead and get into my actual review and the likes and dislikes of this movie. Um, there's a lot of controversy around this movie because the dude that directed it is a very known Christian filmmaker. If I'm not mistaken, he wrote God Is Not Dead, and he wrote Unplanned and some other things. I have seen Unplanned. It was an interesting movie, but that's a conversation for another day. But I will say this, that a lot of people are like, I'm not gonna go see this movie. It's pandery, it's Christiany, it's religious-y. And this is coming from me, a person who's not really religious and who's not really religious at all. So when I went into this movie, I had no clue about the who directed it, who produced it, the team behind it, so on and so forth. I watched this whole movie and I still had no clue about that. I mean, I'm talking about I didn't know about that until months later, right? Or like at least weeks later. And with that being said, even after I found out, I still was like, okay, I didn't really see the correlation there, because a lot of people are saying, "Oh, it's too Christiany." Not like me, I didn't see it like at all. Like I'm watching this movie, it feels like it's just a possession movie. There's maybe like one scene in the movie where you could be like, "Oh, okay, I can kind of see the narrative being talked about," but it completely makes sense. Like when you're listening to the dialogue, when you are hearing the conversation, it completely and utterly makes absolute sense what's being said in the movie. And it goes with the scene. It's not something that stands out. And I'm hearing a lot of people just like complaining about this movie, talking about I'm not going to watch it, I'm not going to do this, I'm not going to do that. And I want to point something out to you real quick. And this makes all of the sense in the world. And when you watch any possession movie, you are basically looking at the same synopsis that is presented in this movie. If you watch The Exorcist, if you watch The Exorcist of Emily Rose, if you watch absolutely any movie that has to do with possession, and there's always a constant conversation between good and evil, the battle between good and evil, the demonic forces with the versus God's light. It's always that conversation, like every single one. The protagonist is always a demon, and the basically the antagonist is always the demon and the protagonist is always like a priest or something like that. So with that being said, like why are we sitting here acting surprised when this movie is exactly the same thing that you've seen with the Exorcism, really, Emily Rose, and any other fucking possession movie you've seen? It's nothing different from any of the damn possession movies you've seen. There's one glaring difference, and it was just the approach that they took. And I'm going to get into that a little bit later. But if you've literally seen any Exorcism of God, any of these possession movies, it's the same theme. So I don't understand why people are like, I'm not going to see that movie because it's too Christian-y. Oh, it's too religious-y. Oh, it's too pandering. It's literally the same concept and idea that you've seen in other movies. Now, if you want to say, oh, I don't want to see it because I don't like the team behind it because of this other stuff, which somebody presented that idea to me yesterday, and I completely respect it, uh, then that's something that you're just deciding to do. That's fine, right? But at the same time, you need to have valid reasons to why you don't want to support this team, not just be like, oh, like, why don't you like this person? Oh, it's because I don't like them because they make he made Unplanned. And it's like, okay, that has nothing to do with this movie. This movie isn't. Let's put it this way: Disney movies, Star Wars movies, anything under the oh boy, that umbrella. Those movies are way more fucking pandery than this damn movie. Like hands down. Like I'm like no bullshit. Like Disney movies are way more pandery than this movie. This movie ain't even pandery. Like I don't even know where people are getting this fucking idea from. It really feels just like a regular ass movie. I had to get that off my chest. I'm sorry. It kind of went on a little bit too long, but it's the truth of the matter. If you've watched any damn possession movies, it is the same concept here. There's no pandery things. There's no like all of a sudden like Jesus comes down and then saves the day, or Jose de Guadalupe moment, or anything like that, where you see the light and none of that. So I don't understand why people are thinking like this movie is just some like, oh, it's gonna get butts in the seats, and a lot of people were just like, oh, well, the church is backing it. So okay, and what? What does that got to do with anything? We sit here and we talk about critics. Hey man, Rotten Tomatoes gave it an excellent score. What does everybody say about Rotten Tomatoes? I don't give a damn. That's just Rotten Tomatoes. That's just some critics. Okay. IMDb. Oh, IMDb gave it this score. Oh, so that's just some critics. Okay, yeah. So these are just some people that like the movie for the message in the movie that they perceive. Cool. Why does that affect you and your ability to watch this movie and judge it on your own? That's all I'm saying. Now let's go ahead and get into the nitty gritty. All right. So the pros of this movie. One, old boy from the Boondock Saints nails it. What is his name? Sean Patrick Flannelly or whatever his name is. Bro kills it in this movie. And I'm not saying kill it in a bad way. Like, dude does an amazing freaking job. Like, he does a really, really good job as like Nefarious the Demon. He amazing dude. And I was kind of blown away at the fact that this movie was filmed different than any other possession movie that I've ever seen. Most possession movies don't have the amount of dialogue that this movie has. This movie is dialogue driven. It is an amazing conversation between two people, and it's a really good conversation about good and evil. And I felt like if there was really a conversation between like two people, like especially with like a demon, that it would probably go like that. That was a really, really good conversation. Like it was good. The dialogue in the movie put it over the top. Where like bro wrote the script of this movie. Great job. The dialogue in this movie was phenomenal. Like I can't argue that enough. For this movie to be a small setting and have a small cast, that means that the characters that you have to be very interesting, they have to be very compelling, and they have to do a damn good job. And I feel like the characters in this movie did do a very damn good job. The cinematography in the movie is very basic, but it does what it needs to do. Music in the movie is very basic, it does what it needs to do. But again, like I said, the one thing that I liked about this movie is that it kind of does play with the idea. I feel like they should have probably did a little bit more, but it does play with the idea of whether or not this person is actually possessed or not. You go back and forth with the idea. Is it a game? Is he playing? Or is it true? Is it real? You go back and forth between these ideas, and by the end of the movie, you're trying to figure out whether or not he is possessed. I'm kind of glad that they try to keep you guessing and on your toes throughout the whole movie. That was really good. Like it would have kind of sucked if they would have blew their load and just straight out tell you, oh yeah, he's possessed, or oh yeah, he's not possessed. Like I think that would have kind of like ruined the experience for me. Um the one thing that I really didn't like was the ending to this movie. And the reason I didn't like the ending to this movie because that is a part where um it just I felt like it should have ended a little sooner. I felt like it would have been more impactful if it would have ended if it would have ended at a specific point. Um I can't tell you what it is because I really want you to watch the movie, but there's a point in time in the movie where a voice is heard. And I really feel like if the movie would have cut there, we would have been good. I felt like everything after that kind of made the movie drag on a little bit too long. I felt like it kind of made it super cliche. Kind of felt like that's the part that made it kind of unbelievable. That was when I was just like, whatever, you know. That was the part that kind of took me out. Like I feel like that took this from like a up there. Like it dropped. Like we was having a good go. Like this is damn near almost a flawless movie in some areas. And then once that happened, I was like, damn, that shit got knocked down a couple of steps. But it's okay. It didn't take away too much from the movie. But like I said, I mean, it's not really much to talk about in regards to this movie. It's a very simplistic plot. It's a really cool conversation that I believe would have been had between uh, um a non-believer and a demon. Like I feel like that's the conversation that would have went. And the amount of like persuasion and the amount of just the dialogue in this movie, like I can't get over the dialogue enough. It's a really good conversation to have in this movie. Like that conversation that was had in this movie was amazing. Like I feel like that's like some top tier writing right there. Like people can hate it for all they want because of who wrote it and their team behind it, but that was some fucking amazing dialogue. Like if I do say so myself. Um, it's it. I will say that at some points it can be kind of predictable, you know. And with that ending, I know earlier I said like there's no like Rosa de Guadalupe moments. There sort of is, but not really. But like I said, it's because the movie feels like it had to add that extra 15 minutes in, and then they had to hurry up and try to wrap it up. So it feels like everything kind of like was condensed and rushed. And I feel like that again, I feel like that took a lot away from the movie. You get what I'm saying? It took a lot away from the movie. I feel like if once he heard the voice, it would have like faded to black. I think we would have been good. But yeah, like I don't know. Like again, like I said, simplistic plot, not much to talk about this movie, but me personally, I think that this movie is low key like a hidden gem of 2023. And again, I'm not saying that because like you know the church is back in it. I'm not saying that because I'm a religious person. It's not really a religious person like that. I'm just saying it because I went and watched this movie as a movie and I critiqued it as a movie. I didn't critique it as a Christian movie. I didn't critique it as a religious movie. I just went and watched it as a movie, and I felt like the movie was amazing as it is. And I feel like if you're going to watch this movie, I feel like you should go into it with absolutely no expectations, go into it with absolutely no bias, and I think that you would enjoy it a lot more than you would if you do. So that's if you already have extreme biases about this movie, don't watch it because you're gonna go into it looking for stuff, and then you're gonna start rolling your eyes when certain conversations are had, and you're just gonna be like, you know, you're taking your way to experience your own experience in the movie. But um, here in the cinema chop shop with great movies in three ways. Either you get bodied and sent to the bowels of hell, and I'll tell you your movie is basura, homie, or I'll tell you, give you a big fat meh, say it's más o menos, mediocre, mid-range, mid-grade, all that good shit. Or I'll say your movie's spared, and I'll tell you it's excellent. Go check it out. Go cop it on video on demand. Go watch it on any streaming platform, so on and so forth. These people deserve your money, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. This movie is getting spared, homie.
He ain't earned the death. He ain't earned the death at my hands. God's only man, spared by the butcher.
Yeah, you heard it, folks. I'm sparing this movie. It's been a while since I spared a movie, but to me, this movie was actually pretty damn good. If you get the opportunity to watch this movie, I would recommend going ahead and doing that. If you don't feel like paying for this movie, I sure as hell didn't. I completely understand if you can find a way to watch it without paying for it. Hey, go for it. I mean, that's your choice. That's your prerogative. But I didn't tell you to do that. That's something that you did on your own. But it's definitely a movie that I will watch. If we're gonna go into it, please watch it minus the bias, try to remove all biases, and just watch the movie as a movie. It's a really good movie. I'm not too fond of the ending that knocked it down a couple of points, but yeah, that's all I got. So let me know if you agree or disagree, whatever the case may be. Drop it in the comment section down below. And you are now exiting the Cinema Chop Shop. Hope you guys have a magnificent day. Adios, homies.